Now, how about them damn Celtics?
And we are back with another episode of How About Them Celtics. Sam and I are here recording Monday, July 7th. Celtics offseason fully underway. Draft is over. Free agency, I guess it technically can't be over, but the initial wave is over. Summer League is in 3 days now, and we're ready to go. How you doing, Sam?
Doing great. Very excited for Summer League. It's going to be nice to have like games to kind of react to, maybe overreact to again. Be different kind of content for everybody listening. But today's show should be a fun one. We actually have like a decent amount of at least just discussion topics. None of the Celtics moves are officially official. All the ones that we've heard about over the last several weeks haven't been made official just yet. So Jack and I will get into that. Talk a little bit about Hugo before Summer League. Payton Pritchard has changed the NBA forever. We'll go through your emails. We'll go around the NBA and go through the things that have happened since Jack and Noah last did the show. Then we'll do the rat list and get up out of here. It's going to be fun. Stick around through all of it. Hit the bell. We're here every single day with new content. Full pods drop Tuesday, Thursday, Sunday. Game recaps are up the morning after each game. And other videos are up in between to keep you up to date with everything happening with the Celtics.
Yeah, let's start with the first thing. None of the Celtics moves are official yet. Anfernee Simons is technically still a Blazer. Drew Holiday still a Celtic. Porzingis still a Celtic. All that stuff. Nothing has been made official, which could open the door for more things to unfold. Obviously, if those projected moves go through, the Celtics are still a second A-ring team because they signed Josh Minott and Luka Garza in free agency already. So more moves are pretty much inevitable at this point. And then the Clippers made a big trade today that could open up some room for the Celtics. The Clippers sent Norm Powell to the Heat. John Collins went to the Clippers. Kyle Anderson, Kevin Love, and a second-round pick went to the Jazz. So Jazz cleaning house a little bit. Clippers get a forward instead. Heat get a scoring punch next to Tyler Hero. A lot of stuff happening, but now the Clippers are left without that scoring guard next to James Harden. So could that be an Anfernee Simons landing spot? We can talk about that as well, but we can talk about Celtics trade future and that Clippers move here.
Yeah, so immediate knee-jerk reaction to this coming up on the timeline was, oh, we talked about the Clippers before as a team that might want Anfernee Simons, and we weren't quite able to get there. Now the Clippers have opened a massive hole on their bench in terms of scoring. Norm Powell was incredible for them for the majority of last season, did a lot for that offense. Not having him on the team next year, probably because they don't want to pay him whatever he thinks he's going to be owed when he's an unrestricted free agent in the summer of 2026, is going to make them maybe a little hungry. Feel like they need a few more points. Maybe Anfernee Simons is the guy that they kind of maybe pick up the phone, call Brad Stevens, test the waters, see what is out there, see what it would cost to get him to Intuit Dome, play in front of the wall. I like the Clippers as a trade partner for Boston. I've liked them as a trade partner for Boston this whole summer, even before Holiday got traded. We were hearing that they might be a team that wants to take a swing at Holiday. I was in. I think the Celtics can get decent pieces back that don't make a ton of money. Getting somebody in a trade like Chris Dunn combined with Bogdanovich, who you could probably reroute to cut more salary, which will be the goal of moving Simons again. Like, I don't think Brad Stevens in the front office hates Simons. They're not going to be like, we don't want him on the team just not to want him. It's just they need to cut money somehow. That's the biggest contract that they have that isn't really something they care about building around in the future. So moving him makes the most sense. Like, even guys like Niang and Hauser, they can still help you win as a contender, and they don't make a lot of money. Who knows what Niang's going to want in the summer? But Simons, the point is, Simons is the guy that it makes maybe the most sense to trade if you want to clear a lot of cap. And I think the Clippers have an intriguing package for him where you can get somebody in Dunn who can really help you win.
See, I don't think Dunn would be in the trade is the problem. Like, I don't think that's a realistic. Not
maybe he's not,
but I think it would probably. I mean, I think they might want him, but I don't think it makes sense for the Clippers to include him because if you include Dunn, you have to trade 3 players instead of 2. And at that point, like if I'm the Clippers, I'm like, I'm just keeping Dunn. And on top of that, you just added John Collins. And so if I'm trading anybody, I'd be more interested in trading, Derrick Jones Jr. over Chris Dunn, because if I keep Chris Dunn, then I have the scoring of Simons, but the defense of Dunn. But if I trade Dunn, then I have Derrick Jones Jr. and John Collins, who pretty similar players. So I would rather trade that. And the Celtics don't have enough leverage, I think, to ask for Dunn because Chris Dunn makes 5.4 and then Bogdanovich makes 16. That would leave the Clippers, what, 5 million, 6 million short of the deal. And then you're talking about including, okay, we have to include 3 rookie scale contracts like that. It just becomes financially unrealistic at that point, unless they're also including Derek Jones Jr. And then that requires them trading 3 rotation players instead of 2 rotation. I just think it gets a little bit too tricky with Dunn's salary. That said, Bogdanovich, Derek Jones gets you to 26 mil. I'm not sure if the wiggle room of being under the apron for the Clippers allows them to take in that extra salary. I think it probably would. I would have to double check, but even so, then you can talk, okay, we're going to trade one of our minimum contracts who isn't in the rotation anyways. We're swapping Bogdanovich for Simons, which is an upgrade. And then Derek Jones Jr. Sucks to lose, but we just traded for John Collins. If you're the Celtics, you really only have to reroute one of those 2 guys. Obviously, you would ideally reroute Bogdanovich because I think Derek Jones Jr. is the more interesting piece, and it'd probably solve your starting power forward position for next year. So you'd want to find a home for him, but then it's probably a little bit more difficult to find a home for him. But I think a package of Bogdanovich, Derek Jones, and maybe a couple seconds if you can squeeze it out for Anfernee Simons makes some sense. That is a tough return for Drew Holiday then in the aggregate, if you think about it that way. Bogdanovich, Derek Jones, and 4 second-round picks. But you accomplish the goal of saving some money at that point, and maybe you can talk yourself into it.
It is kind of sad that we have to sit here and talk about moves like this because of the CBA. Like, I've been listening to a lot of stuff lately where, like, in the context of the CBA, the trades the Celtics made this summer are pretty decent because they get the financial flexibility back. They get their second apron penalties revoked. They get those abilities back to roster building. But without it, it's like, you got what for Kristaps? You got what for Drew Holiday? Like, they are not making winning moves, and they cannot make winning moves as they deconstruct what was one of the great rosters ever because of this CBA. And it sucks to watch. Like, thinking about it in that context where you were like, yeah, like Derek Jones, Bogdanovich, and some seconds isn't the greatest ever return for Holiday. No. Like, actually, for the average NBA fan that doesn't quite understand all of the ins and outs of the CBA, they're like, holy shit, Brad Stevens needs to be fired. That's not the reality of the situation, but it kind of sucks that we have to discuss things in this matter and be like, oh yeah, great. Like, they saved $20 million. We love that. Like, at the end of the day, who does the CBA actually help? Like, let's talk about that for a minute. I hate to do a tangent 5 minutes into the recording. But really, like, who benefits from the CBA the most? Is it the small market teams? Like, is that why they did this
Parity.
for owners? Parity?
Because the same team, you don't have a Warriors problem anymore because the same team can't just keep paying and paying and paying because they're afraid of the actual basketball. The issue is you run in, it eliminates the Steve Ballmers in theory of the world because you can't just have, oh, my owner is willing to pay more money than your owner because there's actual roster building penalties instead of just I can pay more because it sort of balances it out instead of having whoever has the richest owner has the best chance to put together the best team and becomes, okay, we have to actually worry about roster construction moving forward. I don't like the CBA. I think it needs some work for sure. Like, this is not me advocating for it, but like, I understand the purpose of it because it takes it from a Premier League soccer model where the richest guy always wins and tries to get it more towards like a balanced type of thing where every team has at least closer to an equal level of a chance, even though there's still like the luxury taxes and stuff like that. But it adds another incentive, but it's certainly flawed because it ruins teams' chances of keeping talented teams together if you make the right trades. But I understand why they did it.
See, like, thinking about it, in the context you presented, it makes sense. Like, the teams that aren't going to be able to spend as much money do kind of benefit from this. But there's another layer to, like, the Warriors got to win as much as they did. Granted, the Durant part of it is more of the cause of this new CBA, but it was still done because the Warriors drafted well and made smart financial decisions. And, like, that enabled them to spend money on their own guys. Like, they were rewarded for picking Steph Curry, picking Clay, and they had bird rights on those guys, so they were able to bring them back on big deals and reward them. Now, if you draft well, you largely get punished unless you draft the absolute best. Like unless you get an A+ on every single draft pick where that guy is going to be worth every penny you pay him on like a rookie extension or whatever it may be, then you're seeing negative effects of like keeping guys around.
And that still doesn't matter because look at the Thunder. They're about to hand out 2 supermax contracts and their roster is going to be in the dirt in 4 years, 5 years because they can't afford to keep all of the role players that help them get there.
That's what I'm saying.
I know. My point is you're right, but it's even worse because even if you do get A+ at every draft position, Chet Holmgren, Jalen Williams, and Shea, you're still not going to be able to keep the roster together. And it's shitty, but like, I don't know what the solution is past what's already in place. I agree that there needs to be one because I don't think this is fair to the teams who do really well.
Do you think there was a real problem before this went into effect?
I mean, like the Warriors, like
shouldn't there be dynasties though? Like they got rewarded for like being smart.
I get it, but we had the same NBA Finals for like what 4 years in a row, 5 years in a row. Like I get why they did it. Because at that point, it gets a little demoralizing if you're these lower market teams and these teams are just able to pay all this money and your ownership isn't allowed to. And like you run into the Nets of the world who, yeah, they made a stupid decision, but they're also just not a destination. They're not this. They're not like they're just in the shit for 4 years. The Hornets haven't made the playoffs in a decade. Right? You run into these issues of like these teams who are not in big markets don't have a chance. And so I understand the theory of wanting to give them the chance. And I mean, shit, look at the Thunder, a small market team. Look at the Pacers, a small market team. These guys who have made smart financial decisions and didn't pay $1 million for everything, and they finally got through. So I get it, but it is flawed because then you run into the Celtics did a really good job building this roster through trades, but they can't afford to do it long term. And I mean, the inevitability of the Thunder payroll being too much to bear. So there's definitely flaws to it, but I still understand, and I do think it is serving its intended purpose because, I mean, shit, man, we've had a different NBA champion in each of the past 7 years that spreads the wealth and keeps things interesting for sure.
Yeah. Well, the CBA has only been active for 2. So that stuff was going on before the new CBA. Still. The point about smaller market teams is actually where I wanted to go with this because I don't think the CBA actually benefits like a Charlotte, right? Like let's talk about Charlotte. Charlotte, I think, has made good moves this summer. Like they've brought in guys who other teams might want at the trade deadline. They might be able to get assets back for like a guy like Sexton, who I'm surprised they had to give up a second for along with Nurkic, but they did, whatever. You have LaMelo as your top guy. You're going to have to either let LaMelo walk when he's due for a contract, or you're probably going to have to overpay him. And then it's going to make it really hard for you to win games. Like, we talked about the A+ draft thing, and OKC is a good example of, like, they've done a great job drafting, and they got Shea in the trade for Paul George in 2019, 2020. That has enabled them to be at the level they're at, and it got them above, like, the small market glass ceiling. But if you don't hit like an A+ and you have to pay like a B+ guy A+ money, it makes it so much harder for you to make a good roster around them. So it's almost like the owners are the ones that
I don't think that has anything to do with the new CBA. That's just the contract.
Well,
like, people had to pay supermax contracts for guys before the new CBA. Like there were overpays well before the CBA.
There were.
Look at the summer of 2016. Timothy Mozgov, Evan Turner, Mick Batum. Like I don't think overpaying guys or having to pay stars to stay in your market has anything to do with the new CBA. I think the new CBA is more, if Charlotte does manage to build a good team with good draft picks, they probably won't be able to keep it forever like the Thunder are. But I don't think the purpose is for that. I think the purpose is for bigger free agents are more likely to sign or more likely to request trades to these giant teams, right? Like look at, teams wanting to go to LA or teams wanting to go to New York or players wanting to go to all these like big cities. No one wants to go to Charlotte. No one wants to go to Utah. No one wants to go to OKC really, like before this happened, I guess. But like they can't really do that and teams can't afford to make those moves as much because of this CBA. And so I think it's just hindering these big markets teams' ability to add these super expensive guys and keep them around forever by paying things like sort of like what the Warriors did with KD when they already had all those teams because they are a California team. They're a big, like everyone wants to go to California, blah, blah, blah. I'm not saying it's perfect. Again, I think the CBA is extremely flawed. It needs changing because I don't think this is fair to teams who actually do a good job constructing rosters. But like, I understand the intent. Like that's why it helps Charlotte because no one's going to go to fucking Charlotte And so the Charlotte will never have to worry about adding a millions and millions and millions of dollar free agent and then keeping things around. That's a problem the Warriors and Clippers and Lakers and all these teams had to worry about or didn't have to worry about before, but now they have to at least think a little bit harder about
it. I still lean heavily that the small market teams get screwed by this too. Like, really
Why
bad.
though?
Just look at like no CBA involved. The small market teams, just to your point about nobody wants to go play for Charlotte, right?
Yeah.
If you want your guy to stay in Charlotte, you're going to have to overpay. And overpaying has always been an issue, but overpaying is probably more of an issue now than it has ever been.
Okay.
Because you have to be mindful of every dollar you're spending.
Sure.
So
No, that makes sense.
If you're paying LaMelo like up the ass supermax, like earned it, didn't earn it, would have did it before the CBA, would have not done it before the CBA, you are even more limited with what you can do around him, especially if you're a small market team that doesn't want to pay the luxury tax.
Yeah.
Like,
well, that has nothing to do with CBA. That's the ownership cheapness. Like that is. But
okay,
your point is correct.
Yes.
Your point is correct. Like it is harder to pay guys a lot and then fix guys around that. But then what's the solution? But then how do you help the small market team without saying like small market teams don't have to pay as much? What do you mean?
Down the line, we're going to start to see guys that maybe aren't the A+ guy either not get paid the big extension. Like, I've heard a lot of people talking about Tyler Hero as like the next one, like he's due soon. And if you're the front office in Miami, you're left with a real decision where it's like, this guy is an all-star level player, but he's probably not worth the supermax. So what do we do? Do we just lose him for nothing? Do we trade him?
But then what's the solution without allowing the Steve Ballmers and these big market willing to spend guys of the world run the whole league? I'm not saying the CBA is perfect, but like I'm asking, what is then the solution if this isn't what's working?
There really needs to be some sort of caveat to all of this where teams who are paying to retain their own players benefit. Like, if you are Miami and you drafted Tyler Hero's been on the team. He was a rookie in 2020, so he's played 5 seasons. Let's say, I know some of our Aussie listeners, I think I've even mentioned this before, their league, their football league, gives teams a discount on their own players, or like those own players like are only 85% of the cap hit.
Okay, yeah. Sure.
Like something like that. You have to enable teams to keep their own guys. You don't want to discourage them from paying. So
but then that really wouldn't solve
an excuse for the owners not to pay.
Sure.
Now.
But then wrapping this all the way, actually, before we do that, let me tell you guys about PrizePicks and I'll make my point.
Tell them about you have to do PrizePicks to pay your players now.
Yeah, sure. It's PrizePicks, best place to get real money sports action. This baseball season now, because it's the summer and that's all that's on. You should pick more or less on at least 2 players for a shot to win up to 2,000x your cash. Was watching the Red Sox this past week. They just dominated the Nationals to the point where the Nationals fired their GM and their manager after getting 3-0'd by the Sox in 3 games. So Dan Rafael has been on fire. That's been my go-to. I've picked the more on his bases for the past few nights, and I've been feeling pretty good about myself. So make sure to check it out. It's really easy to use. You just create a lineup, and like I said, you should pick more or less on 2 or more player stats for a shot to win up to 2,000 extra money. Sam and I do the PrizePicks every single pregame show, so you can check that out as well. Download the app today and use code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. That's code CLNS to get $50 instantly after you play your first $5 lineup. PrizePicks, run your game. Okay, back to what I was saying. This whole conversation started because the Celtics are kind of getting screwed. Right.
And I'm mad as hell.
Your solution to the problem would not have solved the Celtics issue. Because the players that they had to trade and that they went way over for, they traded for. And yes, they paid Jaylen Brown and Jason Tatum, but even if it was 80% for those guys, they still would have been miles out of the place that they needed to be to avoid penalties, because the guys they traded for and paid $1 billion, like Kristaps and like Drew and like Derek, they traded for and didn't draft. So that wouldn't solve this, like that wouldn't solve the Celtics problem.
If you paid Tatum and Brown 85% of what they were making,
or pay them what they get now, but 85% counts. Because you don't want to screw the players. Yes.
You would save $18 million in cap.
So you'd still be over the second apron.
You would still be over the second apron, but you would have to be less aggressive in gutting everything. Like, it would be easier, significantly easier to, like, you could have committed to just the Kristaps trade. You could have kept Drew, whether or not you wanted to do that, right? Like, you probably would prefer to get rid of Kristaps. But you saved $22 million sending him to Atlanta. That would have got them under the second apron without giving up Drew.
Sure.
Now,
and then they could have done all
then
this
the
stuff
free agent
before.
signings would have shifted things the way it has done it currently.
I also think some of the Celtics over aggressiveness has to do with Tatum is injured, right? Like I think that it certainly changed some of the plans.
Absolutely.
And also, like, a lot of these other teams around the NBA who are getting screwed by the second apron are not the Thunder. It's the Cavs who traded for Jared Allen and traded for Donovan Mitchell and having to pay those guys and traded for Max Strus or signed Max Strus in free agency and traded for DeAndre Hunter. And the Suns who traded for Kevin Durant and traded for Bradley Beal and have to pay all these other guys who, like, the second apron is not screwing teams as much yet who have drafted their teams and built it the legitimate way. It's screwing teams who have traded for overly excessive, like grossly expensive rosters. And that, like, I think that's the intended purpose. So you can't just trade and add your way to the top because your ownership is willing to pay that money for the time being, which I understand why they want to do. It sucks when you're the team that's doing it well, but like, I get it.
Yeah. I just think this new CBA, like, Bradley Beal's not been good. Hasn't really been that great for Phoenix.
It's their own fault.
But Phoenix did not give him the contract. Washington did. But they did have to. They had to give Bradley Beal this contract. Maybe they didn't have to give him the no trade clause, but they had to pay him because if they didn't pay him, he probably would have left Washington for nothing. That contract is significantly worse now than it would have been without these second apron penalties. It still would have been bad.
Yes. However, the Suns knew that. They traded for it.
The Suns traded for, as Jake Eisenberg would say, they traded for him on purpose.
Exactly. So, like, I 100% agree with you that there needs to be a way for teams to not get like the Thunder should not be punished for how they have managed to build.
They
their
should
team. Like, that is the
absolutely not be
example.
punished.
But I understand why teams like the Heat, Suns, and Celtics are getting punished for the way they built their teams. Not that there's anything wrong with it, but it is inherently like we are, willing to pay more money. And maybe the solution is just find owners who are willing to pay more money, but that is also not really fair because just some guys are richer than other guys. Like, that's just life. That's how it works.
Like, so many people that can buy an NBA team. Like, it's not like it's like you don't want to do it. Fine, we'll find the next guy that's willing to do what it takes.
Exactly.
It's not like playing in the NBA.
Exactly. So it's tough. It's difficult. It's imperfect. And
good tangent.
Yeah. Anyways, we were talking about Anfernee Simons to the Clippers. We can continue talking about it if we'd like. Bogdanovich, Derek Jones, a couple seconds would probably be ideal if you can flip Bogdanovich to a third team that would be willing to take on his salary. I don't know what that would be. I don't know if that would be like the Hawks take him back or the Nets take him on or you find another place. But how about the Jazz? What are the Jazz cooking?
What's going on over there?
Well, they've now traded
Love, Kyle Anderson. I'm assuming Kevin Love's going to retire or just not play for Utah. Like when
I assume he'll waved and leave. Yeah.
When we initially put this sheet together, I put this in the
He
NBA
just tweeted.
section.
Kevin Love just tweeted, "Never thought I'd be a math problem. Welcome to the NBA."
Kevin Love listening to our chat.
Shut up. Something I
don't
saw
know what they're
on
doing.
Twitter
Just
was
collecting picks.
From Six Rings of Steel. Jazz turned Sexton, Clarkson, and Collins into Yusuf Nurkic, Kyle Anderson, Kevin Love. Not ideal. Nasty work. What? And listen, man, I wonder, in 2 seconds, obviously, but I wonder how much of this is just Austin Ainge getting there and being like, this is disgusting. Get it off my team. I don't give a fuck. I need to reset. I need a new, fresh start with all the young guys. This shit's gross. See you later. Right? Because at this point, like,
Danny,
what is the real value of those guys? Like, are teams really going to pay a first-round pick for Jordan Clarkson in 2025, a first-round pick for a no-defense Colin Sexton on a $25 million contract, or is John Collins on a $25 million contract? I mean, Colin Sexton is the one that was weirdest to me because I feel like he should be worth something, but
I liked
if there was not
Celtics
much,
target.
exactly. But if there's not much and you can get a guy on a 1-year deal so you can wrap it up, like, sure, I guess, and get a second. So maybe he's just cleaning house and figuring it out from there. But the Jazz are weird. I really like it for the Clippers and for the Heat. And I like it for the Clippers even more if they fill that gap of the Anfernee Simons role. This also does open up the Bradley Beal conversation for the Clippers because I think that'd be pretty damn good for them. Regardless, though, I like the move for both teams involved.
You want to talk Beal? I am on here.
Sure. Yeah, Beal for the Celtics, if we want to make that a thing. Bradley Beal is like maybe going to get waived, maybe going to get bought out by the Suns. We don't really know. If he does
He's
get waived and
preparing.
stretched, it would be a massive wave and stretch, sort of similar to the Dame one in Milwaukee. It's like, I think $5 million cheaper or something like marginal. Could he make sense for the Celtics? I don't think so, but we can discuss it. I think he makes sense for a lot of other teams around the league on a smaller contract. Like Bradley Beal is not a bad player. He is just not a $55 million player with the trade option, no trade clause. But I mean, for the past 2 seasons in Phoenix, he's averaged like 17, 3 and 4 on 50-40 shooting. Like he's objectively quality NBA player.
Yeah, I wrote about Bradley Beal for Harvard Houdini on Sunday night. Don't know if it's been up yet. Not in a rush to have it up.
It's
Shout
up
to the editor. Respect. Bradley Beal, if he was on the Celtics, contextually would not be making $55 million. And if he was on the Celtics, he would not be asked to be, at least past this season, the third scoring option on the Celtics. Things would be a lot easier for Bradley Beal if he were on the Celtics or another team in the NBA. Phoenix doesn't make a whole lot of sense for Bradley Beal, especially not for $55 million. And because he was making $55 million, he received far more scrutiny than he would have received on a regular contract for somebody of his skill set. He got flack from really the team, like the ownership and the front office was like trying to coerce him, upset him, annoy him enough to get him to be willing to be traded. So he's like getting benched, like dealing with mind games from the organization. The fan base fucking hates him because they understand that Bradley Beal is one of the reasons why they can't add real players around the stars because of the amount of money on the cap sheet he takes up. And
Which their
also,
hatred
like,
is directed in the wrong place. It is not Bradley Beal's fault, but yes.
Yeah. I think they're just mad that he won't like accept to be traded, which is kind of funny. But anyways, so like there's a lot of like negativity in Phoenix. Like probably isn't the most happy to be a part of the Suns, even though he likes Phoenix itself, like the area, living there, etc. So a change of scenery could do a lot of good for Beal in his mindset. And Boston makes sense, in my opinion, if they were to get him on like a 2-year, somewhat like cheap deal, like less than 10 annually for 2 years. You give him 1 year to kind of get his footing back, get used to being in an environment where he's not the guy everybody hates, and there's not a lot of pressure to try and compete. Like, even though Phoenix was bad last year, there was pressure for Phoenix to be good because they had pushed all their chips to the middle of the table to get Durant, Booker, and Beal on the floor together. And as you said, not a good move, but they did it. If you have Beal here, he's playing without that pressure. There's not a lot of expectations on this Celtics team next year. And also, one of his best friends, Jason Tatum, is in the Auerbach Center rehabbing the Achilles. And the morale could be good for both guys as they try and rehab different things. Beal's confidence, value around the league, Tatum's actual injury. Having those two guys together would be pretty cool. And then you could sell him on that second year. You'd imagine in 26-27, the Celtics will be competitive again, pushing for a title, at least trying to make moves to do so. And if Beal's on a small contract, he can help you do that. It's just, you're not asking him to be an all-star anymore, so it's a little different.
Listen, I think Bradley Beal makes as much sense as Dame. I would absolutely take Dame on a small contract, $5 million or less, whatever. Yep. It's fine. I can bring on another good value contract because he's a good scorer. I do worry that he's going to kind of be in the way next season if your point is to like develop talent, see what you got, and have a gap year. Because you have like most of the talent you want to get a look at is at the position Bradley Beal plays. You want to see what Baylor Sherman can do. You want to see what Hugo Gonzalez can do. You want to see what Jordan Walsh can do. Maybe you want to see what Max Schultz can do. Maybe you want like J.D. Davison. Maybe if you want to keep him on board. Like all these guys are guards and wings. And if you're just going to give Bradley Beal 30 minutes a night on top of Jaylen Brown, Derek White, and Payton Pritchard, then kind of like what's the point? It's the same issue with Dame, but Dame you wouldn't have to run into it because he's not going to play next year, and you can just have him to be there next season when Tatum's healthy. I get it for Tatum because you bring in Tatum's friend and it'd be a cool thing, blah, blah, blah. It also depends on what Beal wants, because if Beal wants to actually help a team win a title, there's actually a lot of teams he can go to and help a lot right now, right? Look at the Nuggets If the Nuggets bring Bradley Beal on board, you could have him as either your supercharged 6-man next to Bruce Brown off the bench, or bring Christian Brown off the bench, and then you'll be chill. Like, Nuggets are perfect. The Bucks just traded in for or waived Damian Lillard. You add Bradley Beal to that team, you're already a playoff team in the Eastern Conference. You added 15 to 7, like that is the only thing they're missing, is a source of perimeter offense. And for as much as Bradley Beal has fallen off and he's not the 30-point per game scorer he once was, he's still an insanely efficient scorer at the guard position. If you can get him for $5 million, easy. Bradley Beal, Giannis, and Miles Turner, like, in this Eastern Conference, that's a playoff team. It just is, right? And then the Clippers, who we just talked about. James Harden, Bradley Beal, Kawhi Leonard, John Collins, Vicha Zubac. That's a really, really good team in the Western Conference. Like, there's so many teams around the league who could use a guy like Bradley Beal in free agency for a cheap contract. And so if he wants to actually go be a part where he can play 30 minutes and compete for a playoff spot, Celtics probably aren't the place, because there's already so many guys in his way. And would he even start in Boston? Right? Like then you run into the problem, like, are you starting with 2 and leaving Pritchard off the bench? I'd rather just start Pritchard, not sign Bradley Beal. So you get into the little bit of, is it worth it question with the Celtics. And if I'm Beal, I'd rather sign elsewhere.
Yeah, it would be really funny if Milwaukee fixed their bad contract problem by paying the other guy that was on one of the worst contracts in the NBA a reasonable salary, and he came in and made things work for them. I would actually really like that. I think I'm rooting for the Clippers. Good uniforms. I like the Clippers. I like Ballmer. I think he's like trying to build a nice thing over there. So I think if Beal goes there to help them compete in the West, I'd be all for it. I also, I don't know. It would be a little funny if they gave Jason Tatum an emotional support shooting guard. That'd be funny.
Yeah, the last thing I want is for him to get in the way of Gonzalez, Shireman, Walsh, Pritchard developmental minutes. Like, I just don't think that's worth it with the way the season is heading. I feel like it would just hinder the progress of the Celtics moving forward. But regardless, the next thing we got is Hugo Gonzalez, because some clips have been coming in on Twitter of Summer League practice, and we are seeing some very fun Hugo Gonzalez, oh wow, what can this guy do moments. We've seen some behind the backs drives. We've seen some spin moves. I think he will probably end up being one of the point guards for the Summer League team, because him and Shireman are really the only guys who can handle the ball. Back Shoga a little bit too. But I think they trust this guy as a lead guard, at least in this context of Summer League, and that's part of the reason they were interested in drafting him. I think Hugo Gonzalez could give us a very fun summer.
I agree. I think it's funny that in 2 weeks we've gone from this guy is a really great off-ball cutter, like Brad Stevens hammering that home in the press conference. Like I love the stuff he does without the basketball. He's got a great nose for making the right play. To, yeah, this guy's going to be running the show in Vegas, which, by all means, if he's got it, we would all love to see that, even though, especially Jack has done a lot of studying on Hugo to see what he's got. We still are waiting to see what it's going to look like in Boston, how they're going to use him, what they see in him, and all of those things. And Summer League isn't the greatest indicator of that, because the talent levels in Vegas are just not what they are in the NBA. It's a fact. But he's still going to be playing with guys who presumably will be in the rotation next year, especially like somebody like Shireman. You're assuming Shireman will be in use, that he gets more opportunity in his sophomore season. So if Hugo is given the permission to do that, it's going to be really fun to watch. I've enjoyed seeing the clips of him on Twitter, for sure. I just want to see more. I'm excited to see really all of the rookies. Excited to see what Amari Williams has. A little bit of the Giannis tease with Amari going coast to coast at the Thomas and Mack Center, right? No, it's going to be a fun summer, and maybe one of the more meaningful summers in quite some time, where we're just like, all right, who's ready to play real NBA minutes for the Celtics? Because there really hasn't been that sort of question hovering over the Auerbach Center in a while.
Yeah, it'll be fun. I'm excited for Summer League. Last Celtics thing is Payton Pritchard has potentially spawned the new NBA rule. He's talked about it a lot in the past couple of years, but the heave rule. Heaves have been Payton Pritchard's thing, and now in Summer League they're testing, at least, and they tested in the G League last year. Heaves at the end of quarters will not count towards your field goal percentage. So incentivizing players to sort of chuck those up without worrying about tanking their efficiency numbers for the season.
Yeah. So I wrote about the Pritchard thing for Houdini this year, and I wrote for it for Celtics blog last year when the G League trial was announced. And I was like, holy shit, Pritchard made, it was 3 shots throughout the playoffs, but 2 in the finals that lit the building on fire. People went ballistic. The clips are, especially the Game 5 make, are probably going to be part of finals hype packages for years. The NBA was like, yeah, we need to encourage players to actually do this. Worldwide Wob, shout out to him, has for years posted clips of guys holding the ball until the buzzer goes off and then firing up long range shots just for them to go in and not count, calling it the field goal savings club or field goal percentage savings club. The club's dead. These guys are going to have reason to fire up those shots. I bet you guys are actually going to do some practicing of long range shots. Like, you're going to see players somewhat working on it. Won't be like drills or anything, but the same way somebody like Kyrie is always working on like difficult shots in practice so he can be ready to make them if he gets fouled in the game or something like that. Guys will be ready to make heaves for sure. So I think the end of quarters 1 through 3 is going to be a really fun watch in the 25-26 season and beyond.
Yeah, I mean, it'll definitely incentivize it. I think that's a good thing for the game. It's more entertaining, and at its core, the NBA is an entertainment business, right? Unfortunately.
Correct.
That's just that's how it is. But yeah, good for Pritchard, good for the NBA. Fun thing. Let's check out y'all's emails. A reminder, as always, you guys can email us at hbtcpod@gmail.com. That's hbtcpod@gmail.com. We have a bunch to get over today because we did not do them last time. So we'll roll through them right here. First email we got is from RJ. RJ says, cap space chaos. Morning, folks. I'm in a predicting mood right now, so let me take some big swings. NBA ownership seems to be cracking the whip hard on spending. Additionally, Celtics Thunder have won the past 2 championships with a strong emphasis on defense while having offensive superstars. I expect the NBA is going to shift away from paying big money to offense first or only players, spread more of the money into players who can disrupt defensively and rebound even if their offensive portfolio is limited. I don't think this will usher in a return to the 90s beatdown style of play that Pat Riley's Knicks popularized. Fans don't want to watch a mugging on every possession. Additionally, with the influx of NIL money in the college game, I wouldn't be surprised to see a decline in 19-year-old freshmen declare for the draft unless they are solid lottery selections. Second-round picks will look more like who Boston selected this year. Collegiate vets can come into the league and with definite skills and less G League prospects or projects. As always, it could be wrong. Be well, RJ. Yeah, I don't hate the idea.
We kind of talked a little bit about this. Like, Anfernee Simons, people really don't want to pay a Simons Tyler Hero type because they're worried about the limitations defensively. The new CBA is just going to cause so many guys not to get paid. That's just what it is.
Agree. Thank you, RJ. Next one we've got is RJ again. Rumor mongering. Afternoon, folks. I don't know what amuses me more, talk of Boston getting AJ DeBonza next year's draft, or the idea that Celtics signing Damian Lillard to the veteran minimum to rehab alongside JT. I mean, they're both ludicrous, so I'll call it a tie. Right now, it seems like the Celtics fandom is driving itself nuts with what ifs as they get crazier by the second. Tell me something factual, please. I saw that the draftees were meeting with the Jays the other day. Were there any other Celtics in the building? Be well, RJ. Where did you see that the draftees were meeting with the Jays? Did I miss this?
Just on social media. It was
like
it
real
pictures.
Or was it fake?
No, it was pictures.
Just the pictures. I thought there was like some story of a meeting. Yeah, I mean, the Jays are rehabbing at the Auerbach Center, so I guess it makes sense.
Celtics great Neemias Queta was also there to greet them.
Indeed. Yeah, I don't know what to tell you. There's nothing right now, RJ. Sorry. Paulo says, how about Damian Lillard? Hey, guys, I know. What does it say? We know Lillard is no longer, might not even be close to the Dame we used to know, but still he'd be a nice fit. Also, we cannot notice the irony of the whole thread with the Bucks from Holiday to Lillard on their payroll. Again, Lillard is the second star at the max. Is one thing, grade C, let's admit it, but this Lillard at the minimum or close with JT, JB, White, Pritchard, whatever valuable big we're going to get next year. That sounds a lot better, right? As usual, child from Italy, Paolo B, not Banchero. I've said it before, I don't hate Dame on a minimum. It's value contract at that point.
Yeah, the more value contracts you can get, the better. Like, that's the theme of today. Jack and Sam teach you how NBA teams should spend their money. That's what it is.
Mm-hmm. Sure. Exactly. Next, RJ again. Big Met, a look back at dubious Celtics centers. Even folks that did a write-up on some of the least impressive starting centers the Celtics have had in the last 50 years. You can find it here. It's a bottom 10 list, so feel free to take a peek. But before you to try to guess which all-star is on it and who took the number 1 spot. Be well, RJ, who needs to find some form of music about the roster current construction. Who do you think? Who's the all-star?
Let's see. Let me reread this.
I wonder if
Right
it was
up
a current All-Star or
the
past
least
All-Star.
impressive starting centers, and there's one. Were they an all-star like before they came here? Like Shaq?
That's my question. I guess Shaq would make sense. Number one spot. Who's the worst starting Celtics center in the last 50 years? I couldn't tell you. I have no idea.
The worst one? I mean, Vitor Favrani didn't start. Was Jermaine O'Neal one of them? I'm limited
I
to
don't know.
like 15 years here.
Let's just take a look. Honorable mention: Al Horford. Wait, 2025 Al Horford 0.129. Wait, what is this? There's like a system he used.
There's a scale
I
or
used
something.
win shares per 48 minutes as a convenient measuring stick that required the man in the middle to start at least 42 games. So Horford 2025 0.129. But also worth remembering that last year Cornette's was almost twice as high. That's kind of crazy. 98 Andrew DeClerc is number 9 or 10. 9 is Tristan Thompson. 8 is 2018 Aaron Baines. 7 is 94 Robert Parrish. 6 is 2001 Mark Blunt. 5 is 95 Eric Montross. 4 is 2000 Vitaly Potapenko. 3 is 2005 Mark Blunt. 2 is 96 Eric Montross. And number 1 is 2007 Kendrick Perkins. Yeah, I guess that makes some sense.
So Chief is the all-star?
Probably, I assume.
Only one of his number retired as of now. Al Horford.
Shout out.
We're waiting. We're monitoring it.
You think?
Maybe. I don't know. Have we talked about this like on the show recently before?
Mm-mm.
I think there's like a real argument for Horford. Like just part of like the Celtic City piece on Horford was how Boston was not the kind of place that free agents wanted to come before I guess free agents or guys like who are going to be traded wanted to come to. And then Horford did it, and it kind of felt like the Celtics all of a sudden started getting a lot of stars coming through the door. Whether it was via trade, whether it was via signing. Like, they sign Horford, then they end up getting Gordon Hayward, then the Kyrie trade happens, even though he didn't say he wanted to immediately come to Boston. Then you end up with Kemba Walker as a free agent in 2020. Like, the list kind of... And then the Celtics get good again, and they start getting guys who want to play with Tatum and Brown. But Horford making that decision felt like it meant a lot at the time. And also, he had a great career and played more years here than KG.
I just don't
KG.
know. I just don't know if we can. And listen, I love Al Horford. Don't get me wrong, but retiring a guy because he signed with the team that helped like change.
He won a title.
He won a title, yes, but he also left for the Sixers once and now might leave for another one of their rivals again.
This is the part to monitor. If he ends up on the Lakers, it probably doesn't happen.
I don't know, man. We're riding a very
clamoring to wear 42.
I don't care about that. We're just riding a very dangerous line with Celtics retired numbers. I feel like that's I don't know. They already have so many retired, and the bar is so high that
I think Horford is one that is absolutely like polarizing. Like I don't think people should be like, yes, they should. I think there's an argument to be made. I don't know if it happens.
It's tough. It's tough. Last email we have from RJ again. The latest J guide. Morning, folks. Jalen Bridges at the Celtics required to have a minimum number of guys on the roster whose names start with the letter J. Jokes aside, the film on Bridges make me think he's Anton Watson 2.0. Center forward combination. He's confident shooting the three. For Mario Williams is a continuation of Cornette, Porzingis, Queta. The line of must be 7 feet tall to play center in Boston. Then Bridges follows the Horford, Tillman, Stevens lineage of pivot men who are asked to fire from long distance. If you compare him to Watson, what do you think of his game? Be well, RJ. We did the video today. I don't think Bridges is a center, though. I think he moves like a center, but I don't think he guards like a center, which maybe is a little bit of a problem. I also think he's a much better three-point shooter than Anton Watson. He's fine. I don't think he'll stick, personally, if you ask me.
Celtics already traded the third Jaden Springer.
They traded Drew Holiday, too. Trading all the J guys.
Just really hurtful. But I don't know. Jalen Bridges will be a fun watch in Summer League. I mean, we did the video. I know that's what RJ was referencing.
Yeah,
he's fine. I don't really know what his role will be. We'll have to wait.
Yeah, he's just kind of fine. But let's move over to the NBA section. First up, Nuggets, Valanciunas, drama. So Valanciunas was going to maybe sign with Greek squad Panathinaikos. Sorry if I'm mispronouncing that at the moment. But then the the Nuggets were like, no, you're going to honor your contract, buddy. And they said, you're not going anywhere. And now he's probably just going to end up staying. He's got 1 year left on his deal. I don't know if this is going to cause any Valanciunas being spiteful, because like I don't know if it was like he was definitely going to leave and maybe it was just they made me a really good offer, like I'm really interested, and then it's like, all right, whatever, I'll stay with the Nuggets. Or if it's like he wanted out, fuck you, and then they're like, no, fuck you. Like we don't really know the entire vibes of the situation, but it's certainly something to monitor and not the best start to a tenure as a free or a trade guy.
So my immediate thought on the Jonas Valanciunas situation with Panathinaikos is I would imagine that the negotiations started when he was playing for the Sacramento Kings, which would make it a lot more appealing to go play in Athens rather than be in the NBA. I think giving up the opportunity to play next to Jokic is a little bit more substantial, but everything I've heard about this offer is like it's big money, like he's going to get a fuck ton and he's going to earn way more than he would in the NBA and also get to be the star. And also Panathinaikos is one of the better Euro clubs. Like they won the championship in 2024. Like that was the team that the coach was like, well, the Celtics aren't world champions because they haven't beat us yet, like that kind of thing. And when I actually went over there and people were like so excited about it, I could see the appeal of wanting to go play in that, especially being a European guy. Like he's from Lithuania. He would want to go play on his home continent. But you also get to play with Jokic if you stay here. It almost feels like a win-win. Compete for a championship. Valanciunas got dealt from the Raptors team before they ended up winning in 2019. Like, never really has gotten to play that deep in the playoffs. Getting to be a part of a Nuggets team, not put a lot of miles on his body being the backup to Jokic, not the worst deal, unless he wants to be the guy. Like, if he wants to have everything go through him, then it would make more sense. Like, this is a guy that signed with the Wizards last summer, for what it's worth. Probably with the caveat that they're going to trade him, but, like, winning maybe isn't the most important part.
I mean, the Nuggets also reportedly are going to play him. Like they said, you're going to play a lot of minutes for us as the backup center.
I'm sure
so
he will.
He'll get that opportunity, too.
It just won't be like
to him.
35 minutes a night, bath, crazy knee pads, or ice packs on the knees thing.
No, but it is what it is. I mean, again, something to monitor. Last thing, Chris Paul is reportedly going to retire. He was on, I forget what show or what talk show, whatever, but he mentioned like, yeah, this is probably my last season. Makes sense. He's played 20 years. This is going to be his 21st with, he still hasn't signed yet, right? With whatever team he decides to sign with.
He hasn't signed just yet.
But yeah, I guess we'll just see what happens.
I don't particularly care about Chris Paul, but what I will say is it is nice that he has the opportunity to like kind of pick where he wants to finish, like as a free agent. Like I feel like a lot of guys that are going to do the retirement tour thing are already in a contract. And Chris Paul in particular has played on so many different teams. The Clippers reportedly being interested in him would be cool. Like him getting to finish and retire as a Clipper would probably mean a lot to him. And also the Clippers organization who's never really had tremendous top level talent. Chris Paul is one of the great Clippers ever and potentially help them be a championship contending team. Maybe they're not at the OKC Denver level, but they're swimming around. They're in the conversation, as we love to say, for the MVP. I don't know. I wonder where he ends up. We'll have to watch and see.
Mm-hmm. Definitely. I think there's some teams that can make some sense, but all right, rat list. What do you have?
Oof, rat list, man. So I just got back from Delaware. Got to spend the week with my girlfriend and her family, which was a good time. I enjoyed it. It was nice to spend time with them because being in Rhode Island all the time, I don't get to see them very much. But the main draw to going down there, or the real reason why we went, was there was a wedding on Saturday, which is why I was not on the show. You had Jack and Noah on Sunday morning. I was at this wedding. The wedding was outside. The ceremony was outside. It must have been 90 degrees. Sun beaten down. And we are sitting there. No shade, nothing. I'm in a suit jacket. The couple must have opted into every option that you can, like for the ceremony. The bridesmaids and groomsmen came out one by one. They didn't come out in pairs. And then there was this part of this. I don't know. How many weddings have you been to? A lot? Not many?
Not much since I was a kid.
I don't know if I'd never heard of this before. People in the comments might know. Tell us. They did this thing where the parents or maybe the moms of the bride and groom like went up and lit 2 candles, and the bride and groom take both candles and light 1 candle to signify the families coming together. And I was like, I've never heard of this. What is happening? Like, the candles haven't melted? It's so hot out. The worst part about all of this is we showed up like at the buzzer before this starts. We sit down. There's a back row of seats that are kind of different than the rest of the clearly organized rows of chairs. These are closer to the building, like against a wall, and they are kind of shaded. And my girlfriend's like, why don't we go sit in the like actual rows? They're giving out these little fans. We'll be okay. Worst thing I've done, not putting my foot down, being like, no, we're not leaving the shade. Big mistake.
Yeah, it's tough. I just looked it up. It's apparently it's called the Unity candle.
Yeah.
So I guess it's a thing. That sucks. That's like when I had to sit outside for Henry's graduation a few years ago. We're just 95, just terrible. I will rat list the tire place I went to. So I got my tires fixed on Thursday, and it was fine. Dropped it off. Was like, hey, can you fix this tire? They're like, no. I was like, fine. And they're like, your tires are too old. We don't have any that would match. I'm like, fine, I'll get 4 new ones, whatever. My tires were old anyways. Like, I was going to need to replace them eventually. It's fine. It's expensive, but it's fine. Go there, walk around for a couple hours, get my hair cut, get some lunch, chill, go back. Car's ready, pick it up, which they didn't call me when it was ready. I got there, was like, hey, I'm here. And they're like, oh, it's ready. I'm like, so were you just not going to call me? Like, did I just magically time this? Like, whatever. I'm like,
you're supposed to know.
That's what I'm saying. I get in the car and I go to turn my AC on because it's hot out. And the dial is like here, look at this. This is like the cap to a candle. If the dial is usually like this, like flush with the board or whatever, it's like this. It's like leaned in. It's like sunk into the dashboard. I'm like, that's weird. And I turn it on. The light doesn't work, so I'm like, surely my AC is not broken. The AC, spoiler alert, the AC ended up working, right? The AC actually worked. Just the dial. The dial was like loose. I'm like, this is weird, right? But I didn't know that the AC was working when I went back in, but it did end up being fine. But I was like, hey, like, do you know why my AC dial would be loose? Because it wasn't when I brought it here, because trust me, my hand's been on that dial for the past week because it's disgusting outside. So I'm like, hey, why is this like this? And they bring it around front, and he like checks it, and he goes, call me, like, I'll call you Saturday, because it's like about to be the 4th of July. I'm like, all right, that's a pain in the ass. But they call me Saturday, set up something for Monday. And I'm like, this is a little bit ridiculous because I wanted to get my tires fixed, and now this is fucked, but whatever. I go there this morning, drop it off at 10. Guy at the front desk. Immediately I know it's bad vibes. Just off rip. I go, hey, I'm here. Got my tires fixed this past weekend. My, AC dial was loose. I'm here to get it checked out. My name's, he goes, name. I go, Simone. Does not speak any other words. Does not say a word. I'm like, all right, this is already a suck. This guy doesn't give a fuck. He's in a pissed off mood. Like, I can just tell he's going to be annoying. Does a bunch of typing on the computer, blah, blah, blah. 3 minutes later, like, all right, we'll take your keys. I'm like, okay, cool. Yeah, it's just I'm like explaining to him once again, like on the phone, they're like free diagnostics. I'm like, I better be. I'm not paying for this. Like, this is ridiculous, dude. I asked the dude, pretty reasonable question, like, hey, do you know how long this is gonna take? And he goes, well, I mean, we have to like figure out what's wrong, like do the diagnostics.
You told him what was
we already
wrong.
Have a guy working on another car right now, and I'm like, yeah, it's the AC works. It's just like the dial is just loose. Like, that's fine. He goes, yeah, no, but it's like diagnostics. And then he goes, yeah, I don't know. You just got your tires fixed. I don't know how this happened. I'm like, yeah, buddy, I don't know either. That's your fucking problem. You fucked it up. You guys did something wrong. I also don't know what's wrong, but I know it's your problem to fix it. Why are you giving me shit? He like said it in a way that was like, yeah, I don't know how that happened. I'm like, are you accusing me? I dropped it off fine, bro. Like, you fucked something up. I was so mad, and I walked out of there, and I don't know how long it's going to take. I dropped it off an hour and a half ago, and now at this point, like, surely this shouldn't take all fucking day for you to fix something that you fucked up. So
it's just like the thing that turns the air on, right?
Yes,
like,
it's literally just like loose.
And so it makes it harder for you to actually turn on the air because it's loose.
I can do everything fine. I can turn the dial. I can press the button. It's just loose. It's just in and out, in and out. Like, I don't even need to get it fixed. When I asked them to fix it, I just didn't know the AC was working. I thought the AC was broken. But then after I left, I fixed it. But I still want them to fix my car that they broke.
Yes,
I still want them to fix
You're
the AC dial. So, like, what the fuck, dude? So I'm irritated because he was giving me shit. I have a bad feeling they're going to try to make me pay for some shit, and I'm going to have to be like, dude, no. Like, I'm not paying for that. So it's just so fucking annoying.
Ratless. So this is just going to turn into a story, I guess. I had a good time at this wedding. Okay? I don't want people to think I didn't have a good time, because I did. It was fun. My girlfriend had a good time. She got to see her friend get married. Fine. The wedding moves inside after I'm put in risk of a heat stroke, which is great. It was nice and AC. They had like good little like snacks you could eat at. We go and we finally sit at like our table, and they have the MC who was hired. Like, he's like part of the team with the DJ. Like, usually there's like the wedding DJ, and then like it's usually just him. This guy has the DJ himself and like a guy on a saxophone, which was cool. The MC, Michael Jordan, of saying, I don't think you're loud enough. I think you guys, we need to do that better. We need to do that again. He was like, who's ready to dance? And like, people are like, whatever. Like, I'm pretty sure people are like still recovering from almost frying to death. And he's like, that was about a 6. Like, can we try that again? Like, people like humor him and like make some noise. He's like, nah, that one was about a 7. Let's try one more time. And it's like, I think you get one of those. Like, I think you should get one, like, I can't hear you, like, bring the energy. So then he's like talking, and he's like, hey, I've got 2 rules at this thing. And like, obviously you're like, all right, like, there's probably like some safety thing, and the second rule is like, have fun. Sure enough, the first thing is like, don't dance on any chairs, because I don't want anyone to like fall off. Then I was like, fine. And he's like, second thing, anytime I go, yeah, everybody has to reply and go, yeah. So he was doing that the whole time. And every time he did yeah, and people didn't really do anything, we got like 2 or 3 let's try agains before he would stop talking. And my favorite part of this is he's on the microphone asking for a yeah, and getting mad that people aren't giving him it. Like, when like we're all eating. It's like, dude, like, people are trying to eat. Stop trying to talk. Like, I actually don't want people to talk to me when I'm eating in general. Like, I eat fast. There's not a lot of room for me to like discuss things with you, like, as I'm shoving food in my face. I don't want to put my freaking chicken parm down so I can give you the obligatory yeah. Like, isn't part of, you said it, like, part of the MC skill set should be to read the room. Stop annoying me. He was annoying.
Yeah, that's whack. Not fun. That's all. I have nothing else. I'm good.
We can wrap it up there.
All right. Appreciate y'all for tuning in. Make sure you like, subscribe, and all the time to get out.
Hey, thank you very much for listening and watching. Make sure you leave a like, comment, subscribe. Let us know how you're feeling about, I don't know, Bradley Beal, Summer League, all these things kind of looming around the Celtics. You can subscribe and hit the bell. We are here every single day. New pods drop Tuesday, Thursday, and Sunday. Game recaps are up the morning after each game. We will have those for Summer League, so be on the lookout. And other videos are up in between to keep you up to date with all things Celtics. And again, hit the bell in case any news breaks, because we'll have you covered with that too. All pods and recaps are on Spotify and Apple, so if you just want those, follow. They'll go right to your feed. Leave a 5-star review. We'd appreciate that very, very much. You can email us, hbtcpod@gmail.com. We're reading all your emails, as you saw on the pod today. Shout out to RJ. Shout out to Paulo for getting them in. You guys have been awesome since the offseason started, so keep it up. hbtcpod@gmail.com. Our socials are at How About Them C's for Twitter, Instagram, and TikTok. Facebook's just the name of the podcast. All streams are there. They're on YouTube. They're on Twitter. Jack's Twitter's Jacksman NBA. Mine's at Sam LaFrance NBA. That's it for us. Bye.